Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
We'd like to thank Woodbine for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Woodbine open now through December, featuring great racing, including the King's Plate coming up in August, Turf Champions Day with the Woodbine Mile in September, and much, much more. Woodbine Racing, great racing north of the border. Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. I'm Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us. We'll take a look at some stakes action from really the last couple of days. It's been a big weekend, certainly down at Churchill. Some nice stakes action, a couple nice stakes in New York, but obviously the big day at Parx yesterday, highlighted by the Pennsylvania Derby. We'll hit on that and then go back to some Friday action as well, which had a Derby of its own over at Fairmount Park, but also big night at Presque on Friday. So we'll hit on all of that this morning. Going back to yesterday, Belmont at the Big A. Friday was a funny day with some prices, including a price that paid off for us. Again, if you weren't tuned in yesterday, the Pick 3 bankroll team wound up. Everybody got away with a team of 10. They all walked away with over $180 each. Free money from Capital OTB, thanks to an $80 winner on the ticket in the finale at Belmont at the Big A. But that played into carryovers yesterday in both the Pick 6 and Pick 5. And it was a little more logical yesterday. And so if you played in, you could have put together a reasonable ticket and wound up with a decent amount of money. Pick 6 yesterday at Belmont at the Big A for $1 paid $4,400 plus, and the Pick 5 for 50 cents paid over $1,000. Your sequence, the Pick 6 started in the 6th race. Captain Jack Sparrow, $6. Then you moved on in the Pick 6, and you started the Pick 5 with an $8 horse, Brew Pub, Ready for Candy, paid $7.36. Vetriano, $9.82. Hangover Heaven, $6.64, and Saratoga Snow, $5.94. So there was not a double-digit price to be had. The highest price was the $9.82 horse. There were, 4 horses at $7 or less. So again, it was a little more logical yesterday than it was Saturday. But again, if you were attracted to play in with those carryovers, you stood a very good chance of cashing with, a reasonable ticket if you put one together. And people love those Pick 5 carryovers. Certainly they did send it in. And again, for 50 cents, you'll walk away with $1,000. Having put together, I'm sure some people sent it in, but still, if you had a $600 ticket and you walked away with $1,000, it was an okay day. But if you put together a $60 or an $80 ticket and walked away with $1,000, that definitely worked out all right. All right, let's get back to some of the stakes action. And again, we'll kick off on Friday. Fairmount Park kind of went under the radar, but it was the St. Louis Derby, over $250,000 up for grabs, and 1 1/16 was the trip. The favorite, Brad Cox runner Disco Time, that had shown some ability early on, and then had been on the sidelines since winning the Lecomte back in mid-January, had gone 3 for 3, maiden special last November at Churchill, non-winners and one at Churchill in November, and then again, middle of January, wins the Grade 3 Lecomte down at the fairgrounds. Obviously, a little hiccup, and had to go to the sidelines. So that one, understandably, Florent Giraud on board for Brad Cox, was the even money favorite. Hypnus, who's a Kenny McPeak horse that's kind of intrigued me since a career debut that looked very good, but did not, has not really lived up to that. We're in an okay second. Excite was third for Bill Mott. So the big guns came to town: Brad Cox, Kenny McPeak, Bill Mott, and they run 1, 2, 3. But as you can see, Disco Time now 4 for 4 and winning pretty easily, 5.5 lengths. The margin here, Hypnus again second, and Excite third. Junior Alvarado on Excite. He was in town. So again, a nice evening at Fairmount. St. Louis Derby with Disco Time getting back on track now, 4 for 4. Be interesting to see what they by Not This Time. So again, Not This Time continues a fabulous year as a sire, but it's going to be interesting to see. I didn't read what they might have in mind for that one going forward, but you would think there'll be some nice plans, and certainly a 4-year-old campaign, I would certainly guess, is in the cards for that one. Also on Friday, it was their big night, Presque Masters and the Presque Mile as well. And first up, we will take a look at the mile, the Presque Mile, which, let me just get my page here. We are looking at mile. It's the Presque Mile, but it's actually a mile and a 16th, which is kind of wild. But it will be Encino getting it done under Flavien Prat, the number 10 horse in here. Did go off as the 33-5 favorite and lived up to that. Chart margin is going to be just under 2 lengths. Grounded second. Trademark for Vicky Oliver, who's had kind of a nice career, runs third, but Encino getting it done for Brad Cox. So first couple of stakes we looked at, Brad Cox right there. This one was coming out of a third Kentucky Downs preview race at Ellis, but before that had won a stakes race at Horseshoe Indy. Those were both on turf. This horse on synthetic, though, it had a very good 4-try record with a couple of wins in a couple of seconds. Now adds to that on the synthetic. Has run well on dirt, too. This is one of those runners that seems to, not mind what the surface is. And when you have a horse like that, you certainly have plenty of options. Disappointment in here was the Wine Steward, the really nice New York bred from Mike Maker, who goes off as the second choice at 3-1, but wound up 6th in there. So as I say, a little bit of a disappointment for that one, but not for Encino. They pick a nice spot, $150,000 up for grabs in the Presque Mile at a mile and a 16th. And Encino gets it done. As I say, Flavien Prat on board for Brad Cox there. And we will also obviously take a look, as I say, the highlight of the season stakes action at Presque Isle is the Presque Isle Masters. This one for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, going 6.5. And in here, it's going to be the number 5, Gallant Rush getting it done. Miguel Clement for West Point Thoroughbreds and Company. Joel Rosario was in town and on board. 10-1. The favorite, number 11, Ellen J, will wind up second by a nose over Tricky Temper. And again, it was a pretty clear margin with the winner close up. It was a length winner to second place. It was a nose second to third, but Ellen J did get the second. Flavien Prat on board for Brad Cox on Ellen J. But again, it was Joel Rosario for Miguel, Gallant Rush at a $22.60 mutual. Gallant Rush was coming out of a third place finish in what was essentially the prep for this in mid-August at Presque Isle. Had been racing prior to that up at Woodbine, taking advantage of turf and synthetic. This one also came into a nice synthetic record, 12 starts, 3 wins, 5 seconds, and a third added to that. Now 4 wins and 13 starts on the synthetic and 5 wins in 24 starts overall. And, past the $500,000 mark with the win in the $300,000 Presque Isle Masters. So congratulations to West Point Company, Miguel, Joel Rosario. Nice win and a nice full field of 12 in the Presque Isle Masters. Again, Friday night at Presque Isle Downs. So as I say, the weekend kicked off with some nice action in Pennsylvania and out at Fairmount, St. Louis Derby, and then continued into Saturday with more stakes action. We'll kick things off looking at stakes at Belmont from Saturday. Again, the highlights of the day were, Churchill had a nice card. It kind of got a little beat up by scratches, but the highlight was the Pennsylvania Derby and their card. And it looked from the simulcast signal like they had a good crowd there too, and that was good to see. But there were a couple of stakes in New York, and they were, fun stakes on the New York card. We'll take a look first up at the Bongard for state breds. The horse to beat in here was Spirit of New York. Went off kind of lukewarm, though. The way the betting public jumps on favorites, I was a little bit surprised. This one was 2-1 from an 8-5 morning line, so it went up from the morning line. But it was an Adam Rice Invader from Presque. This one trains at Presque, but being a New York bred, first couple of starts of the career were both up at Saratoga, debuted and won a state bred stake. Adam Rice at Saratoga. Watch out. The 4 is going to make a little run and threaten, and I like the 4 a little bit too. Black Volt coming in from a win at Colonial, now came into New York to face state breds. Had momentum, but not enough momentum to get by number 5, Spirit of New York. Again, Adam Rice, when it comes to Saratoga, very good. Won in the debut. And then they were ambitious enough to try Spirit of New York in the Open Company Skidmore. Ran an okay third behind Bobrovsky, but yesterday got back in against state breds and got back onto the winning side of things. Michael Dubb and company, Adam Rice, Manny Franco on board at a $6.30 mutual in the Bongard. But as I said, it was a nice run from Black Volt, who started the career running third on the dirt down at Delaware, then goes over to Colonial and wins a maiden special on the grass and wins it pretty nicely. I had it 5-4, came out 5-4, exact $22, a decent little exacta for the 2-1 favorite over the 3-1. I was going to say 3-1 third choice. So favorite over the third choice, $22 in a field of 6. That wasn't a bad price. And I think both of those are worth watching for. I always say it, when you have a nice New York bred, you have a lot of options, as was kind of demonstrated by both of these. Spirit of New York running third against Open Company and only the second start in a stake up at Saratoga. And Black Volt beating Open Company to break the maiden down at Colonial. So, again, the connections there have plenty of options going forward with a couple of nice New York breds. Spirit of New York, Black Volt on the turf, sprinting 2-year-olds in the first stake of the day down at Belmont at Aqueduct. And then a little bit later on, it was the Winter Memories for 3-year-old fillies on the turf. As I say, I like the cold exacta in the Bongard. I whiffed in the Winter Memories, though. Ready for Candy was playable, certainly, off the maiden breaker up at Saratoga. And our colleague Anthony Mormino was talking throughout the meet about horses coming back off very long layoffs. Ready for Candy had raced in November of last year and came back in the middle of August at Saratoga to break the maiden. As a maiden, had tried some stakes company and been competitive, but hadn't broken the maiden. So did it off a very long layoff and comes right back off of that as the 3-horse and just holds on as number 7, Paradise City, makes a late run. That one trying the turf for the first time. I didn't use either of them. They had things to like. I had Paradise City at the bottom of my mix. They certainly had things to like, but they also had some big question marks. I mean, you're Ready for Candy came back from a very long layoff, one on the front end up at Saratoga, won nicely, but steps out of maiden company into a stakes race in the second start back. As I said, the horse had run decently in stakes last year as a maiden, so there were things to like, but there were other horses in here that just seemed to be coming in maybe a little better form, maybe a little better form having faced better than maidens, which Ready for Candy did. So, again, I shied away from that one a little bit. And Paradise City, I thought was interesting for Safi Joseph. And, I had that one at the bottom of my mix at 27-1. That one was definitely playable. Ready for Candy took a little action. The betting public was right there at 5-2, got the win. Ricardo Santana on board. Manny Franco was on board Paradise City, who, again, tried the turf for the first time and at 27-1 completed a nice, $222 exacta for a couple of bucks. Again, I kind of whiffed there. You know, it's one of those you go back in 2020 hindsight. Again, there were things to – and Paradise City, as I say, that one to me was interesting, certainly. Ready for Candy, though, coming out of the maiden breaker, I was a little bit skeptical. Betting public, though, as I say, was on board. Mayday Ready, who another horse I didn't use, was coming off of the Saratoga Stakes win in the Lake Placid. We had trainer Joe Lee on after that. I didn't pull the trigger there, and that one disappointed as the favorite, running 7th. And again, coming off the stakes win up at Saratoga, that was certainly a disappointing effort, and was right in the thick of things late. Just got swooped on by, in the last furlong or so. My top pick actually scratched, and I scratched into C2 Sky, who ran 5th in there at 19-1. But again, it was one of those move-ups, so my confidence level wasn't quite the same. But again, nice performance from the winner, nice performance from the second place horse, who are only a nose apart. So we'll see what's in the future for those two runners. So there were your two stakes down at Belmont at Aqueduct yesterday. Again, nice action on Friday evening, nice action in New York yesterday. And when we come back, we'll take a look. There was a nice stake down at Gulfstream yesterday. I think it was a win and you're in, if I'm not mistaken, but obviously at Parx, Pennsylvania Derby, and at Churchill. We'll touch on all of those when we come back from this break. So stay tuned.
You know the time is now. What you waiting for? The time is now. Here it's knocking at the door. The time is now. Do you want to give them more when the time is now? You've seen the rest now. You want the best when the time is now.
코리아컵 출발합니다.
이 순간을 위해 여기까지 달려왔다. 이제 내일을 향해 뛴다.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Welcome back. Yes. Oh, I moved myself and I moved the wrong direction. There we go. I was on my tape, so the camera is actually not set right. I'm blaming it on the camera. 10th race yesterday at Gulfstream was the Grade 3 Princess Ronney. A couple $100,000 up for grabs. I said win and you're in, and I'm not sure about, because I think that's usually in the conditions, and it wasn't here, but I'll have to double check on that. Regardless, 7 furlongs, nice graded stakes event yesterday for a couple $100,000 down at Gulfstream. Fillies and Mares, sprinting 7. It's going to be hauling ice for Safi Joseph. C2 Racing, prominent owners now with some nice horses in their barn, including hauling ice, who gets it done pretty easily. Chart margins just under 5 lengths. Favorite in here was number 8, Claret Beret, who kind of clunked running 5th in the field of 7 as the 8-5 favorite. So again, that one was a little bit of a disappointment, but not Hall & Ice, who came out of a second place finish in the stake in the previous start, but 2 starts back was a winner of the Musical Romance down at Gulfstream. Overall, this is a nice runner. This was win number 10 and start number 17. And when you can win over half of your starts, you have a nice little racehorse. And we are approaching 115. Yeah, we're just under $1 million in earnings now, 900,000 plus for Hall and Ice. Nice little 4-year-old filly that be interesting to watch going forward. Certainly a nice performance yesterday, as I say, with the chart margin. And I haven't checked since I came in the studio. I looked earlier for buyer numbers. Haven't seen. I'll try again in the next commercial break to see if I can grab the buyers for some of the stakes action yesterday. All right, let's now shift over to Parx and take a look at some of their stakes action from Saturday, highlighted obviously by the Pennsylvania Derby, but we'll get to that in a moment because we'll work our way backwards chronologically. And they had 15 yesterday. I said they're getting up there in Delaware County Fair territory. The fair, Little Brown Jug Day on Thursday, had 20 races, and it was a nice couple of races, the elimination and the final by Blueprint out there in the Little Brown Jug to stay undefeated this year. But again, 15 races at Parx yesterday. They wound up with a stake, the Parx Sprint. It will be Bucciarino getting it done at number 9. Paco Lopez on board, the favorite. And Bucciarino had come in having won the prep for this in the middle of August and won it pretty nicely with Paco Lopez on board. And again, Paco Lopez back on board yesterday and looks pretty good. Then there was a jumble for second. You look at the chart, the winner was a length and a half ahead. And then there was actually a dead heat for second. They were a neck in front of fourth, who was a nose in front of fifth. So again, jumble underneath with Bucciarino getting it done, but Full Moon Madness and Maximum Meridius wind up dead heating for second. Damon's Mound, who I thought was very playable as well, runs fourth, again with the dead heat for second. I had the winner right underneath in the second spot. I liked Hold My Bourbon for Safi Joseph. Tyler Gaffleone on board. That one, close up, was in that scrum for second, but wound up coming out of the short end of the stick there, a neck and a nose back in fifth. As the second choice, or actually the third choice, Maximum Meridius went off as the second choice. The winner was the favorite. But again, I like to Hold My Bourbon. Safi Joseph runner, who just winds up a little bit short in the photo for second. And it was such a photo for second that you didn't wind up second, you wound up fifth. So again, I like that one, but Bucciarino was certainly very playable. Betting public got it right, making that one the favorite. All right, let's move on now to the Pennsylvania Derby. And in here, I did get it right, as well as most of the betting public at 7-5. Baeza just, on the chart, Sovereignty clearly the leader of the division, Journalism clearly second, and Baeza was pretty clearly third and now is absolutely clearly third. Baeza, as you can see, getting it done. Pretty easy victory, 2 1/4 lengths. Nice late run from Magnitude. Very nice late run. Goal-oriented, third in here. Goscar disappointed as the second choice, running sixth in the field of 10, but did have a little trouble at the start. So maybe you blame that start on the poor performance by Goscar. But Baeza, you don't have to blame anything. It was a nice run. Hector Barrios and John Sheriffs. And Sheriffs, after the race, made plenty of comments that deserve it. That, he's been happy with the horse. Disappointed, obviously, with some of the finishes, although recognizing that the horse was running well against a couple of kind of monsters in Sovereignty and Journalism, gets away from those. And again, when I handicapped yesterday, I said, I just think he's going to outclass this bunch. He's clearly, just behind the top two, who would absolutely have the edge on the bunch yesterday. And Baeza lived up to it. And in doing so, there was a lot of comment on Twitter, and I agree with it. I think he flattered Sovereignty. That, Sovereignty runs ahead of Baeza in the Jim Dandy, runs ahead of Journalism and Baeza in the Belmont, runs ahead of Journalism and Baeza in the Kentucky Derby. And Journalism and Baeza have now proven themselves to be absolute players on the 3-year-old scene. So their very good performances just serve to flatter sovereignty, I think. And he is clearly the leader of the 3-year-old division, and he's going to be very interesting to watch going into the end of the year Breeders' Cup Classic. But journalism and Baeza now are right in the conversation as well as 3-year-olds that as we get to the end of the year with an older class that's very interesting are going to make this Breeders' Cup Classic very. And John Sheriff's on Baeza wasn't sure that Dave Grenig was at Parx yesterday covering the big card, and he had quoted Sheriff's in his column, who it sounded like unsure of the Classic, but then Grenig said, but his eyes lit up when I said 4-year-old campaign. He said, absolutely looking forward to a 4-year-old campaign for Baeza, because again, he gets away from the big two and gets it done, and pretty easily yesterday. And again, I'll have to check and see next break if we can come up with some buyer numbers there. But nice performance by Baeza. $4.80 as the winner. Magnitude runs second at 10-1. Another horse that, clearly looked like a player. I had him kind of down at the bottom of my mix, but he was absolutely one to take a look at. The Travers looked like a throwout. Steve Asmussen kind of said that he was happy to see that one come back and run well. I am being handed the buyers right now. Thank you very much. A 105 for Baeza. So a solid number. I'm just looking at lifetime best. He had a series of triple digits, but they were triple digits behind sovereignty and journalism. So a 105 lifetime best, solid number there for Baeza. Bucciarino wound up with an 88 in his win. So again, nice number for Baeza in the Pennsylvania Derby. All right, let's shift now to the Cotillion. Another highlight on the card yesterday. Grade 1 event, $1 million up for grabs. This one for the 3-year-old fillies. And I will tip my cap to our friend Tim Wilkin when we were talking about this race yesterday. He kind of liked Clicquot, and that's what it turns out to be. The Brendan Walsh lightly raced 3-year-old filly, only 4 starts so far in the career, but 3 wins, including the Indiana Oaks coming into this. Irad Ortiz was on board, and the number 3, Clicquot, does get it done. Barely. Chart margins and neck, dry powder from Chad Summers and Al Gold Square Racing runs second as the 8 there on the inside and closing late. Just a head back was Our Daydreamin' Girl. Scottish Lassie, the Coaching Club American Oaks winner, wound up 4th as the favorite. I was kind of surprised that one was the favorite. I used La Cara, went off at 9-1. I was a little bit surprised at that price. The winner of the Acorn ran 4th in the Alabama, but I thought, the Alabama distance. And as Tim Wilkins said yesterday, La Cara missed the Coaching Club American Oaks being in one of those barns that was quarantined at the time. So I thought there was maybe a reason to go back to La Cara, who showed her usual speed, but then faded when the real running started. But Clicquot not fading. And what do we have? 92 buyer for that one, which is, clearly a lifetime best buyer. Had broken out of the 80s in the prior starts. Good Cheer, as the second choice, barely second choice behind Scottish Lassie. Good Cheer winds up 6th in the field of 7, and one of the horses was pulled up. So that was not a good performance, obviously, from Good Cheer. After, what has been a little bit disappointing since the Kentucky Oaks, frankly, the 5th in the Acorn and the 2nd in the Alabama, and now off the board in the Cotillion. So we'll see what's up next for Good Cheer. But certainly you would think a little bit of the old back to the drawing board kind of a situation there. But not so much for Clicquot. Puts her hat squarely in the ring for the 3-year-old fillies, and we'll see how that all works out. Nitrogen having the turf and the dirt form, and maybe is now rising up. Again, the two Brad Cox runners, one who did okay, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, and Good Cheer maybe not so much. The two Brad Cox 3-year-old fillies started the year looking very good. Hasn't quite worked out that way, but Nitrogen for Mark Cassidy, again, with the turf and the dirt, kind of solid. All right, let's take a look at one more before we go to a break. The Gallant Bob, this was 3-year-old sprinters, and that's often the case with big 3-year-old races. In the last few years, there's typically a 3-year-old sprint somewhere on the card too. And the horse that seemed the one to beat, I landed there yesterday. The betting public really landed there. And I said when I was in here handicapping yesterday, the price on Barnes was just crazy short, which made everybody else a great price. Barnes in a field of 10 goes off at 2 to 5, and was way back late and made a run and had some run in the stretch, but it was way too late for Barnes. Barnes is going to be the number 5 horse here, and you'll see that one eventually coming late, but it's way too late. Madhouse got the lead in the stretch and kept on going. Madhouse, Paco Lopez on board. Chart margins over 2 lengths. Gateskeeper at 83 to 1 runs second, and Fire Pit at 56 to 1 runs third. So it's 23 to 1, 83 to 1, 56 to 1. The 50-cent trifecta, just under $3,900. Barnes, again, makes a late run and gets 4th, but is no threat. Neo Equos and Donut God, who I thought were both interesting, were 6th and 9th. So again, this was a little bit of an upset kind of a situation on the 3-year-old sprint side of things, primarily because Barnes was essentially a no-show there. Obviously, again, it was a $3.2 million purchase in the Bob Baffert barn, and Jimmy Barnes, his assistant. You name one like this, people have said right from the beginning, when you're naming one for a long-time assistant, you're looking for the right one. And early in the career, it looked like the right one, and then ran 5th in the Santa Anita Derby, the comebacker in the Jerkins at Saratoga, a 3rd behind Patch Adams and Captain Cook. And now they, again, another one that you would think, they're going to have to go back to the drawing board with Barnes. But we'll have to keep our eyes on Madhouse. This was win number 4 and start number 9. It wasn't the stakes debut, but had a lone stake going back to March at Tampa Bay Downs, running 4th in the sophomore. That was still a maiden. And this is one of those where maybe the light bulb went on. Madhouse, in the first, 5 starts of the career, really hadn't shown a lot. And then at Canterbury on June 29th, breaks the maiden. Allowance win right after that, end of July, wins easily. Still at Canterbury, end of August, wins easily. And now comes to Parx in the Grade 2 Gallant Bob, wins again. So 4 straight, 3 at Canterbury. But you look at the numbers, the buyers, that one certainly has progressed. And as I say, maybe the light bulb went on 4 starts back. And so we'll keep our eyes on Madhouse on the sprint side of things, certainly. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, a little more from Parx and also some of the action at Churchill from yesterday on the stake side. Stay tuned.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Haven't signed up for a Capital OTB account yet? Now's the time to take advantage of the sign-up bonus. Open up a new account with $200 or more, bet $400 by the end of the month, and receive a bonus $200 into your account. Plus, you can take advantage of everything an OTB account has to offer. Wagering from any device, live streaming, racing info, past performances, online promotions, and more. Sign up today and take advantage of the new account bonus. Details at capitalotb.com.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Madhouse was a 92 buyer in that sprint, the Gallant Bob. So nice number for him. All right, let's continue again looking at some of the action yesterday at Parx. The Parx Dirt Mile, $300,000 up for grabs. I like number 4, Dilger. Irad Ortiz on board for Safi Joseph. That one is going to run second behind a horse that scared me, admittedly. I didn't use it in my mix, but I had a couple of check marks. It will be number 1, Nelson Avenue, getting it done. Joel Rosario on board for Jorge Abreu in a nice performance. The margin's going to be a half a length over Dilger. Coastal Mission runs third. But again, it was a nice run for Dilger, getting up, just grinding, as you can see here. I'm rooting for my top pick. I'm not going to get it. It is going to be Nelson Avenue. Coming off a 4th place finish at Kentucky Downs on the turf. Before that, a close-up second on the turf up at Saratoga. But most of the resume underneath is dirt. So it run well at Saratoga on the turf. They took a shot at $500,000 down at Kentucky Downs. It ran an okay 4th, but getting back to the dirt on Saturday afternoon, Nelson Avenue gets it done. Dilger ran fine, just came up a little short in the stretch. But again, it was Nelson Avenue. After the race, the trainer said next up might be the grade 3 49er at Aqueduct. That's very early in November, $175,000 up for grabs. And Abreu, being a New York guy, that would not be any surprise to see him show up there. So we'll watch for that. Also yesterday at Parx, the Liberty Bell for the Fillies and Mares, 3-year-olds and up, going 6.5. This one I did get right, and that race we saw from Gulfstream earlier, Mystic Lake had scratched out of that Gulfstream, the Princess Ronney, to go to Parx. I said when I handicapped yesterday, I thought that, said a lot that Safi was making that move coming out of 3 stakes victories. They picked their spots with Mystic Lake, the number 8 horse here, who will get it done, over number 6 Volleyball Princess, who at 13-1 was a good second, Bella Queen third. But Mystic Lake, Tyler Gaffleone on board for Safi. And again, it was the right move. This horse has been working up at Saratoga just, last weekend, had to work at Saratoga. So it made sense. Parx van ride as compared to going to Gulfstream for the Princess Ronney. But it also made sense that this was a good spot, certainly a good field. And they, as I say, they've been picking their spots. One last time at Charlestown in the Pink Ribbon, 2 starts back Delaware in the Dashing Beauty, 3 starts back Lone Star in the Memorial Day Sprint. So again, they've been popping around the country looking for the proper spots and found it again yesterday. 4 straight stakes victories. That ran the record to 5 wins and 7 starts this year. And overall, 11 wins in 20 starts in the career. And she is a millionaire as well. So I'm still talking about race number 10. But thank you for trying to jump ahead. Mystic Lake, again, a millionaire with 11 wins in 20 starts. Solid career so far. So as I say, I think Safi made the right move, picking this spot as compared to going down to Gulfstream. And he pretty much been making the right moves with this one, picking spots all season long. So we'll keep our eyes going forward on Mystic Lake. And finally, on the stake section down at Parx, we'll just take a look at the stretch run of the 1.5 Greenwood Cup. typically, I said yesterday, this race will get some specialists on the marathon side of things. This year, I don't think there is one of those really floating out around there necessarily. The betting public liked the winner, the number 4 horse. I think are we looking at the first time around here? I'm not sure what we were looking at there, to tell you the truth. Although,
I had the wrong race.
yeah, okay. I don't. It said race 9, but was it the wrong day?
Yeah.
No, okay. All right. I thought that didn't look like the 4 horse winning. Take my word. No bien Nimal gets it done. As I say, the betting public was on the winner, 3 to 5. I had the horse in my mix, but it was a horse coming up from South America that had a win here, but did not seem to particularly be a marathon specialist, so that the betting public was on board. I was not in the same boat. They were right. I was wrong. I like Calibrate. That one, East, wound up 6th in the field of 7. Digital Ops, I thought, was a little bit interesting. That one wound up 4th. So it was another one of those races where betting public was right on top, and then things kind of got juggled up underneath with a 16 to 1 shot and 38 to 1 shot. But again, there you go. There's the South American runner. Scores, and the chart margin is going to be just under 2 lengths for the 3 to 5 shot, $3.40 to go the mile and a half, and a respectable 231.23. So as I say, betting public got it right. Me, not so much in that one, but that was, again, the kickoff to a really, really nice stakes day down at Parx, obviously with Baeza. Validating thoughts on him as a 3-year-old, but as I say, flattering the other couple who he's kind of been chasing throughout the season, journalism and most importantly, sovereignty as well. All right, let's take a look at some of the stakes action down at Churchill before we wrap things up. The Harrod's Creek yesterday, we talked about these races with Tony Kalo. Tony liked Jimmy's Dailies, and that one ran well to run second. I thought Semper Primus was interesting off the big win in the previous start. Semper Primus is the number 2 horse and will fade markedly here after having been in a good spot early. Jimmy's Daily, the number 3 horse, but it is going to be the betting favorite, Smokin' Wicked, for our friend Dallas Stewart, getting it done, the number 5 horse, pretty easily, it looks like. And then a late surge. I don't know whether you were ever sweating. Jimmy's Daily, again, the horse Tony made a nice late run, but you could kind of tell it was going to be too late. Smokin' Wicked by half a length over Jimmy's Dailies, and they were the favorite and the second favorite. As I say, unfortunately, scratches kind of hurt. This was a short field to begin with, but then they lost one as well. I alluded to the Seneca overnight a little bit earlier when I talked about the Brad Cox 3-year-old fillies. Good cheer, disappointing. They came into the season with so much promise, including Immersive, who came into the season as the 2-year-old filly champion last year, having won 4 straight, including the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly. Comes back in June after having a little issue to be dealt with and ran second in the Monomoy Girl, was a well-beaten second behind Scottish Lassie and the Coaching Club American Oaks, had been off since then, gets back on track yesterday. Immersive winning the Seneca overnight, running second, Ivory and Ebony. I thought that horse was interesting for Dale Romans, coming off a maiden breaker up at Saratoga, and does wind up second as the second choice. Immersive took the action at 3 to 5, $3.22. Florent Giroux on board for Brad Cox. But, nice confidence builder for her to get back into the winner's circle after, again, a couple of, had to be disappointing second place finishes given what she'd done last year, but got back on board yesterday. Seneca overnight, $175,000, mile and a 16th. Immersive back on track. Certainly yesterday. First win in 2025 in 3 starts. So as I say, a little bit of a rebound for her. And also on the stakes side of things, yesterday. It was the Dogwood for 3-year-old fillies going 7 furlongs. Grade 3 event, $300,000 up for grabs. And when Tony and I talked yesterday, Tony said, big fan of Echo Sound. He felt like he was abandoning that one a little bit because he liked Ragtime. I thought Ragtime also very interesting for Belmont. Echo Sound winds up off a poor performance in the test, winds up running last in here as the 2-1 second choice. So Echo Sound has now put in a couple of clunkers. So that one, back to the drawing board situation there, perhaps too. But number 4, Ragtime, this one got off poorly, got stymied, as you saw at the start of that clip there, kind of pulled out and still had no room and had to kind of make another move out. And then when the racing got clear, she just powered forward, wins by over 2 lengths. Resume Junior Alvarado on board for Belmont. Godolphin, a nice day yesterday. But she's now 4 starts, 3 wins. Each of the wins was a nice-looking win and a close-up second in the test in only her 3rd career start. And this was her 4th career start. All of her races so far have been at the 7 furlong trip, which is kind of a quirky situation, and she has handled it very well. Going to be interesting to see what Belmont does going forward. But again, she overcame a slow start, and as they say, in the stretch there, pulled out, and then things, I'm not going to get it done there. Junior pulls out again and gets it done. So nice performance there for Ragtime. As I say, Belmont Junior Alvarado, strong state, ran second at 28-1. That was an Al Stahl runner coming out of a couple of wins, Churchill and Saratoga most recently, so that one got away to price. And I guess it's just a reflection of some of the others in the field here. But coming off a Saratoga win, that was a generous price on that one. Delightful Claire as the 3rd choice at 5-2 runs 3rd. But the exacta with $3.90 plus horse on top of the $28 28-1 shot underneath. The exact couple of bucks, $37 with a $3 horse on top. So if you like the Al Stahl runner out of the win at Saratoga, you wound up with a good situation there. As I was talking to Tony yesterday, we talked about K-Cup. I'm going to be interested to see where that one shows up. We talked about that, and the horse was cross-entered in the stake in New York, but it turned out was a main track only in that Winter Memories, and obviously went on the turf. Interested to see where they wind up with K-Cup, because I thought it was intriguing that the New York bred, they were going to take a shot going down to Churchill and trying Open Company. I'll be interested to see, as they say, where they go with that one next out. And then we'll just take a quick look at the Bourbon flight. When I talked to Tony yesterday, it was already kind of in a rough situation, scratch-wise. Field of only 3 in here, but it was an upset. Chunk of Gold was the clear favorite with a field of 3. Came off a win in the West Virginia Derby. Chunk of Gold, the number 5 horse. But quirky things happen in short fields. A field of only 3 after scratches. It's Brother Kenny getting it done for Bill Morey. Jose Ortiz on board. This one gets away at 2-1 as Chunk of Gold in the big field was 23 cents to the dollar. But again, just quirky things happen in small fields, and Brother Kenny got away in the stretch and couldn't get run down by Chunk of Gold. But again, unfortunately, scratched down to that field of only 3. But there you go. Good stakes action yesterday. Clearly will play out towards the end of the year. Clearly, some of these runners will wind up in the Breeders' Cup. We'll have to see on Baeza. But again, clearly horses like that we have next year to look forward to as well. You would think the same for a horse like Immersive. We'll get more about that as the ensuing months play out. Who's headed out to Del Mar and who's headed to next year and whatnot. But plays out very nicely going forward regardless. And going back to Friday Night Disco Time, now undefeated. We'll see what is up for him. Gallant, a rush on the win in the Presque Masters. She's interesting. Obviously, all the results at Parx yesterday, too. So fun day, fun going back to Friday, fun weekend so far. And we will continue it today. So looking forward to that. Let me once again grab my promotion sheet. I know what today is. Today, you can grab a little football action at our food vendor, Black Bear. Going to Black Bear, watch the games. You can also enjoy, obviously, all the racing action and have some fun here on a Sunday. Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Just looking ahead, coming up later this week, grand opening at our Rustic Barn Easy Bet. It's one of those. There's been the soft open because we had the folks on from Rustic Barn up at Saratoga, and they were already underway. But it's the official grand opening, which will be a nice event coming up Friday at the Rustic Barn Pub Easy Bet. Keep that open keep that in your mind for the opening this coming Friday. Santa Anita will kick off on Friday as well. A week from yesterday at the Clubhouse Racebook, there'll be a trifecta challenge. So that's what's coming up in the week ahead. Obviously, as we get closer, we will alert you to those as well. But I'm going to wrap it up for a Sunday morning after a recap of some really nice stakes action at the various venues around the country over the past couple of days. But that's going to lead into this afternoon. This afternoon, I'm going to look at a little Churchill and some Belmont. Churchill will kick off at about 12:45. Belmont at 1:10. So we'll have that action and more right here on OTB TV this afternoon. Looking forward to it. So far, it's been a nice weekend. If you've been tuned in, the Pick 3 play on Friday certainly was very nice. But the Parx action had some winners on top. I want to say, well, I'll pull it up, but it was about half of the races we were scoring with, 6 or so. Well, on a card of 15, maybe a third of the races. But we will try to keep it rolling this afternoon. So stay tuned for all of that action. Or as I say, come down here and enjoy our company right here at the Clubhouse Racebook as well. Plenty of opportunities to watch, enjoy, bet, and hopefully win this afternoon via Capital OTB. So Seth Merrow wrapping it up for Racing Across America on a Sunday morning. But again, back in about an hour and a half or so, we'll kick off OTB Live for a Sunday afternoon. See you then.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.